Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 10 of season 3 of our F125 Cadillac Career mode. Yes, we return this weekend here to the Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, ready for the Belgian GP. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Silverstone, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. It's safe to say, as we've crossed over the halfway stage of the season, we are having a pretty good campaign. There just seems to be one elephant in the room. For the life of me, I just cannot seem to win a race this season. It's getting a little bit frustrating as we cross over half distance. We've been on the podium 5 times in the opening 10 Grand Prix. We've come second twice, we've come third 3 times, but still the only win I have had inside this career mode was back at Monaco in Season 1, and well, if you guys have raced at Monaco on this game, you'll know the AI suck around the venue. So I do firmly believe this weekend here at Belgium, this is probably my best chance of getting a big result this season as well. Of course, after that we've got Zandvoort, we've got Monza, and actually quite a good run of races right the way through to the end of the season. This is one of the good things about doing the 16 race calendars, is you get to ditch a lot of the bad tracks inside F125. Max Verstappen though hasn't won a race in the last 3. He will be looking to try and come back stronger with his Red Bull this weekend. Ferrari, both of their drivers won at Silverstone over that double header as well, so we are now down to P4 in the Drivers' Championship. Both Ferraris have won a race, both McLarens have won a race. Max Verstappen, of course, has won many races so far this year. We are the only driver inside the top 6 that is yet to do so. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. If you want early access to all of these videos as well, you can click the join button down below. And as we head towards the end of 2025 IRL, I know it's only August, but I'm trying to do a bit more promotion. I actually live stream now on Twitch 3 or 4 times a week, so there'll be a link to that down in the description below as well. We normally go live UK time about 7 PM, but I want to try and hit 10k followers over there as well before the end of the year. But yeah, with all that out of the way then, let's return here to the Belgian Grand Prix.
High-speed straights, heady elevation changes and dramatic corners. What is there not to love about today? It's qualifying day here at Spa Francorchamps.
Well, it is meant to be nice and dry throughout the entire weekend here at Spa Francorchamps, apart from race day Sunday. Changeable conditions when we get into the main event. So really, yeah, we're going to be using obviously all the qualifying sessions and the sprint race as well, just to give us a good idea as to what the speed is like. Of course, Q1 and Q2, we've only got the 1 set of the medium tyres for each of those sessions, so hopefully we'll be able to get 1 lap on the board that is going to safely see us through. I'm pretty certain this is our first sprint weekend of the year, isn't it? I think we've only got 3 on the calendar, obviously here, Brazil, and I believe Qatar as well, so yeah, not having as many sprint races kind of makes them feel a little bit more special. Normally, they're just a bit of a pain to do, to be honest. But any excuse to do a few more laps of Belgium, and I will take it. Jack doing then, just getting a little bit in the way as we try to finish off this first run here in Sprint Q1. As I said, of course, we'll hopefully only have to do 1 run in each of the sessions. I mean, Spa being the longest track on the F1 calendar doesn't give you much time. If you need to go back out for another run as well. Right towards the end of the session, 7 kilometers of the best racing surface in all of Formula 1 there. But as we try and make our way through the final couple of corners, luckily Franco Colapinto jumps out of the way. Where's this going to put us? Purple, Sector 1, Sector 2. We go straight to the top of the pile. Well, there we go then, the only driver down into the 139s by the end of Sprint Qualifying 1. But sometimes it does take the AI a little bit of time to fire up their tyres in these sessions there. Oscar Piastri just ahead of Lando Norris, as Albon again goes out in Q1. Kick Audi driver Nico Hulkenberg there, he'll be happy to make it straight into Q2. But Bortoletto, Paul Aaron, Lance Stroll, Behrman and Zach O'Sullivan all out after the first runs. Well, less than 40 seconds on the clock then as we head back out for my first run in Q2. Again, if we can just match the time we set in Q1, I think I'll be pretty happy. Sonoda getting closer and closer on a 140 flat. A few drivers, though, in danger in this second session. Of course, myself, Lando Norris, George Russell, all regular staples out in Q3. The sprint races, though, can cause a little bit of an upset there, as I think Norris has just improved to go back up the order. Will George Russell be able to? And, of course, hopefully we should. Purple by the end of Sector 2 once again. We are really flying through that middle part of the lap, and 1.2 seconds up though on Jack Crawford. So at the moment then, our split time's not as good as we were able to do in that first session. We should still hopefully make it through quite safely, as Russell only good enough at P12 by the end of qualifying for him. So Mercedes looked good in Q1. Definitely not feeling so confident now. So a little bit squirrely out the final corner. 40.1. Slower than our first time. We only go 4th. Well, there we go. Mercedes, I thought they were looking like the team to beat here after SQ1, but Oscar Piastri and George Russell out alongside Lando Norris, so quite a few upsets there. Tsunoda fastest, but only a 10th covering our top 4 drivers. Franco Colapinto makes it through, so does Andrea, Kimi, Antonelli and Liam Lawson. So, at least for the sprint race, we're in for a slightly mixed up grid. Well, once again then, it seems like Charles Leclerc and Ferrari have really saved the best till last. The Monegasque man doing a 139.2 as we head into Q3 there. So this is going to take a Herculean effort if we want to try and beat that lap. I'm hoping we can get a little bit of slipstream off of Esteban Ocon in his Red Bull car as he comes to the end of his run. Maybe, just maybe, he can give me a little bit of a tow as we get ready to start our run then. Is that in the final corner? Power down in towards turn 1. Of course, we saw at the real life weekend there, Oscar Piastri, a new lap record around this Belgian Grand Prix. Everybody so far has been going a little bit quicker than that. But just how much quicker can we go? Is there going to be a 138 in this machine by the end of the session there? As I thought Ocon had come to the end of his run, but he's still going for it at the moment. So maybe I haven't quite timed this just as well as I thought I had. Esteban Ocon gets up towards the top of the hill. We have gained a load on him, but now we're really battling with the Red Bull up through the top of the circuit there. How well are we able to stick behind him then? So yeah, like I said, I thought he was, finishing a run, but no, he's gone back out. And this is actually what we let him through on his out lap, effectively. So this might end up being a little bit of a disaster for us. He's actually running fairly competitively up the order in P4 right now, so at least we know he's not one of the slowest cars in this final session. But as we try and stick with him, Sector 1 time, of course, was fantastic. I'm hoping the Sector 3 time as well should be pretty good. It's just how much we lose in through Sector 2 here, as this is really not the way we wanted to do this. We're going to try and drain all the battery because I want to be ahead of him by the time we get out of that final corner there. Still getting a nice tow as we make our way back up the hill, but will we get close enough to really go for anything here? We can't really afford to battle each other as we both try to finish off our laps then. But is Esteban Ocon going to have helped us out there? Through the final couple of corners we go. Could we possibly dip down into the 1 minute 38? So we're practically pushing him to the line. 39.3. We end up P3. Well, there we are then, Charles Leclerc. That is a spectacular lap time to end up pole position here for the Belgian GP sprint. Carlos Sainz, though, only half a tenth away, just ahead of myself and Max Verstappen. Then there's a little bit of a gap back. Esteban Ocon narrowly ahead of Pierre Gasly there. Tsunoda will be disappointed down in P7, just ahead of Lawson, Antonelli and Franco Colapinto. But yeah, qualifying's done and dusted. Let's head into the sprint.
Spa Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track's a great one for fans of pure speed, and the average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles per hour. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hadja, Verstappen, Esteban Ocon and Gasly, Tsunoda, Lawson, Antonelli and Franco Colapinto, Norris, Piastri, George Russell and Crawford, Hulkenberg, Doohan, Alex Albon and Gabriel Bortoleto, Aaron, Stroll, Behrman, and Zach O'Sullivan rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Well, here we are then down on the grid, ready for the Belgian GP sprint, and I'm trying to rack my brain. I don't know if I've ever won a sprint race inside this series as well. Maybe today could be the day. 8 laps of high-octane racing ahead of us. Let's see what we can do then. Leclerc on the pole. Carlos Sainz alongside him. 2 Red Bulls just behind. It's 5 red lights. Oh, no hold whatsoever there before the lights are out and it's green racing. As Verstappen probably gets the best jump out of anybody in your top group there. Also, though, on a set of these soft compounded tyres, Esteban Ocon as well tries to have a look around the outside down out of turn 1. We're going to go wheel to wheel with the Red Bull as we make our way down in towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Who's going to back out? Neither of us. So we get a little bit squirrely over the inside curb. Somehow keep it pointing in the right direction and we'll make the position for now. As you can see there immediately, Sainz and Leclerc on wheel to wheel as well. Of course, former Ferrari teammates. They've had many a battle in their time in the sport, but Leclerc again will hang on just ahead of the MasterCard McLaren this time round. Verstappen waiting in the wings, just sensing if there's any opportunities at the start of this race, as it is still 4 cars from 4 different teams making up the top 4 at the start of this event there. But the Sainz already perhaps looking under a little bit of pressure. Verstappen, he knows he needs to go for it in the early laps of this sprint race, because of course those softer compounded tyres, they will start to hit the cliff towards the end. They should be fine throughout this sprint race, but yeah, it's just how long will their advantage last, as Leclerc just trying to inch away a little bit through the final few corners of sector 2. We go purple through that little sector again. Just got so much confidence in this Cadillac through the twisty bits. This is going to be the ultimate tell as we get on to lap 2 there. Already Carlos Sainz just looking like he's struggling a little bit to match the pace of Leclerc, as Verstappen now right on that MasterCard McLaren's rear wing as we make our way up over the top of the hill. As we make our way up the Kemmel Straight there, Verstappen to the inside of his former teammate. So Sainz surrounded by drivers that he has driven alongside before there, but the McLaren man trying to go the long way around. Max Verstappen though will say thank you very much. And up into P2. He loves this venue. Charles Leclerc loves this venue. They've both tasted success around this circuit before. But who will taste success on Saturday today? Well, Verstappen clearly knows what's at stake early on in this sprint race, because he's already starting to leave Carlos Sainz for dust. Early on here, the Spaniard still able to stick in the DRS range, but might be vulnerable to our Cadillac as we really attack the curb up over the top of Eau Rouge. And we use the DRS though to get a run on that McLaren. 225 miles an hour, almost at VMAX. As we reach 228 there, that was the limiter in the car. So at least we now know what the maximum speed of this machine is. But round the outside of Carlos Sainz will go. Now we need to try and recharge the pack up a little bit, so we can try and hassle Verstappen and Leclerc. We've tried to be strategic throughout most of this event so far. We have tried to look after our tyres and also, of course, charging up the battery pack as best as we can as well. It will likely mean we only really get one chance on the very last lap. So looking at the rears there slightly down in towards turn 1. That is how hard we are pushing at this stage of the day, but as long as we stay inside the range of Verstappen, we should be good at the moment there. But I think Charles Leclerc now might have bolted. I think Verstappen has just about stayed in the DRS, but I cannot afford to sit behind him then, as you can see how little speed the Dutchman has as we make our way up the Kemmel Straight again, pretty much reaching VMAX in this Cadillac car. Try and have a look around the outside. Not enough though. Verstappen, we will have to give him back the place there. Carlos Sainz now wants to try and come through as well there, as we get a little bit squirrely on the exit of the corner. Sainz for some reason still stays defensive, so we will get back around his outside through the exit of No Name. But with all of that going on, Leclerc has bolted free, and I think this battle is going to be with Verstappen to the flag. One more lap to go though. Can we try and get a run on Max Verstappen? As well, Alexander Albon, it is going to be yet another disappointing weekend for our teammate here, but it's going to be a long, long way back from Verstappen. Of course, if we use the ERS there up through Eau Rouge, hopefully we're going to be able to get a run on him anyway by the time we get out up towards the top of the hill there. We've got the DRS. We just have not got the battery at the moment. And Carlos Sainz is actually closing in on me quicker and we are closing in on the Dutchman. Is there going to be any more opportunity on this last lap to try and find a way around Max? Of course, you know, we likely, but could still be in the Drivers' Championship fight there as all. We just get a bit squirrely. Sainz left with nowhere to go, and immediately will lose his front wing in the contact there. Our second warning for a collision with the Spaniard, and Verstappen immediately will break free.
Sorry, mate.
And for the second time this year, we've gone airborne in the Cadillac car. Sainz, I just wasn't expecting him to go that slow through the exit of the corner there. He was fine through turn 8 now. I think that's Malmedy, isn't it? But down in towards turn 9, Sainz just parks it, and we will end up... F125's physics are a little bit weird, but we are out of the Belgian Grand Prix sprint. Well, I can't believe then the first time this season we have failed to see the checkered flag. Like I said, the second time after Australia free practice, this Cadillac has gone airborne. But yeah, I mean, we made the initial mistake. If anything, I think karma got me back in that moment there. Charles Leclerc takes the sprint victory though, 2.6 seconds clear of Verstappen. Carlos Sainz still hung on ahead of Esteban Ocon by the end of it there. Gasly a brilliant drive to P5 ahead of Tsunoda, Lawson and Lando Norris with a decent recovery as well there. But again, another race where I thought we might be able to take some points out of Verstappen, and it just has not happened. Quick look at the championship. The Dutchman now 43 clear still of Lando at the top of the table. Charles Leclerc, though, still in P3 there, and Tsunoda closes in a couple of points on me. I imagine we're going to need a whole engine rebuild ready for the Grand Prix, so we might have to start this one from the back. I think, to be honest, it's going to be a miracle if the team can even get the car ready for qualifying.
High-speed straights, heady elevation changes and dramatic corners. What is there not to love about today? It's qualifying day here at Spa Francorchamps.
Well, by some miracle then, the team have been able to get the car up and running yet again. But as you would have just seen there, flashing up at the top of the MFD, we will be starting the Grand Prix from the back of the pack. So I'm just going to go out for one run in Q1, make sure everything is working as it should be with the car. And then, yes, we will head into the Grand Prix there. Effectively now, this weekend has become a last to first challenge. And every time I want to believe that we are in the fight for victory this season, something, anything, seems to come away from us here. So, yeah, like I said, we're going to try and do one glory run here in Q1. Just see, I don't know what straight line speed the car's got in it. There is already Carlos Sainz back down into the mid 1 minute 39s. Maybe, just maybe, we could get a 138. But yeah, wherever we qualify, we're starting at the back of the field. So I'd rather not put the extra mileage through the engine. One thing, though, that hopefully is a little bit of a bonus, of course, is the fact we hopefully now shouldn't take any more grid penalties between now and the end of the year. So at least we've kind of dealt with that. Not that really this was the venue I wanted to deal with that. Making our way through the final couple of corners there. It hasn't felt like a particularly great lap. Yeah, there you go. 139.8, sorry, I should say there. So we still end up going P3 by the end of Q1. But yeah, let's head into the race.
Welcome then, as we take a step back into the nostalgic golden days of motorsport. Spa is unashamedly a throwback, and all the better for it. Climbs, drops, sharp turns, chicanes, sweeping high-speed corners, all while taking in some of the most beautiful scenery that Europe has to offer. This might sound like a travel brochure, but it's not. It's a race day. Welcome along to Spa Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa Francorchamps is a 4.35-mile tour of the Ardennes countryside, with 9 rights and 10 lefts, giving us a grand total of 19 corners. Average lap speeds in the dry can reach about 145 miles per hour, but without a significant improvement in the conditions, we're not going to be seeing anything like that today. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Yuki Tsunoda lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, and Russell, Gasly, Piastri, Colapinto, and Liam Lawson, Ocon, Behrman, Lance Stroll, and Albon, Crawford, Bortoletto, Jack Doohan, and Paul Aaron, O'Sullivan, Hulkenberg, Antonelli. And Isaac Hadjer rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Okay, mate, Mark here. Quick radio check, Right, we're hoping for another strong podium this weekend, so go get out there and get us a result.
Well, I think Mark's a little bit optimistic that we can try and score a podium in today's race, especially from the back of the field then. But we've got 22 laps to try and make up as many places as we possibly can. Obviously, if you guys watched the Canadian Grand Prix a few weeks ago, we took a bit of a gamble. We started the race on the intermediate, and it actually worked out quite well for us. The AI had to pit quite early into the event, so we're going to try that again today. Maybe if we get a safety car or something like that early on, but effectively, you know, we want to be able to try and jump our way further forward early in the event as well. But of course, we don't know when that heavy rain is going to get a bit lighter, so it is a huge risk. But what else can we do? Starting from the rear of the field, the 5 red lights are on here at the Belgian Grand Prix. It is the lights out, and away we go there. Grip off the launch fields. Okay, so we'll try and have a look. Whoa, no, we won't. Antonelli there immediately slamming the door shut on me on the run in towards turn 1. We'll try and take it nice and easy. Get down the inside of the Haas car there. You can see Nico Hulkenberg with that Audi livery there that I think looks absolutely gorgeous inside this game. But got wheel to wheel then with the other American team on the grid. Oh, Antonelli really did back up as we tried to make our way through Eau Rouge and Radion. I'm not expecting this to have too much speed in the early laps. There was immediately the Italian. Oh, I think they're 3 wide just in front of me. I'm trying to make it out through the spray. But yeah, there you go. Zach O'Sullivan on the inside line. Hulkenberg in that Audi getting a little bit squeezed out. And hopefully we'll be able to try and capitalise there. Finding a little bit of room. Getting around the outside of both Hulk and Zach. So happy with the progress then on this opening lap. But of course, yeah, we really do need to try and move through the order, as it looks like there is a lot of Constantina and up further up the grid. Again, Antonelli, he wants to make my life nice and difficult on this opening lap, which I can't really blame him for. I think Verstappen now has moved up into P3. But yeah, he's really struggling already there as one of the Ferraris. And I believe that's Yuki Tsunoda are bolted free up at the front of the order then early on. So let's not forget Lando Norris, currently Max Verstappen's biggest title rival, as we head into this weekend. They've had a couple of good battles for championships already on F1 25, but will anybody put an end to Charles Leclerc's reign?
Try out. Inters and wets will probably have very similar pace at the moment.
There we go then, that's a good omen. As we get towards the end of lap 1, the team are already suggesting the Inters are a competitive tie here, so we will try and immediately go around the outside of Andrea Kimi Antonelli through that final corner. Up then, into P19. Immediately we might be able to make it P18. It's down the inside of Paul Aaron in that second V-carb as well. So already starting to make some good progress in this race. Now let's just wait and see what the grip is like up through Eau Rouge and Radion there, as everybody just trying to keep it fairly planted. It's certainly not flat out, but it is not a million miles away there, as sucking up in the wheel tracks of Gabriele Bortoletto. Hopefully we can get past the second Audi by the time we get up towards the top of the hill. Nice and tidy on the brakes and up into 17th. Yellows out immediately then. Not too sure who's potentially got issues here. I think that's a Red Bull. Max Verstappen out of the Grand Prix then on just lap 2. We've got a VSC.
Safety car has been deployed. We need to keep a positive delta here. Slow down and maintain a positive delta. Okay,
as you can see then, that Red Bull going up in smoke. And lap 2 is incredibly early for a mechanical failure, and Verstappen, he's been pretty impermeable so far this season. But Red Bull have let him down today.
Wait for the greens.
Well, there we go. The Delta a little bit all over the place through that final corner, but it is green flag racing once again then here in the Ardennes. I mean, these are proper Spa conditions. But we're all well aware if this was IRL Formula 1, they would have already red flagged the race and waiting for it to dry up. And we get a run on Jack Doohan there as we really try to attack up through the top of the hill. To the outside we'll go, and again this car has got some tremendous straight line speed, even battling through the spray. 210 miles an hour without the help of DRS. And again, we've got the confidence on the brakes to get around the outside of another one. Well, the AI really aren't shifting much of the standing water early on in this race, and of course that kind of helps them out, but not so much me. this early stage of the afternoon. Strat Crawford now in a bit of a Cadillac sandwich.
Don't start thinking about slicks just yet.
Oh, I think he was looking to try and get a run on my teammate Alex Albon as he's a little bit slowed up behind Ollie Behrman here. But yeah, these intermediates provided great grip on lap 1. They don't feel bad now by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely the wet tyres are still a worthy competitor as we kind of barge our way, get the elbows out against Jack Crawford. And I'm hoping Albon won't make my life too difficult. We have driven around Alex Albon a couple of times so far this year, but as I've mentioned before, it's quite nice just to see the Cadillac, you know, the actual livery on this car as well, from a separate perspective. There is all. Thought I haven't looked down the inside of our team at turn 1, but do not want to risk any contact. We're only on lap 5 of this race. It really has felt very, very slow to start this one, but can we try and get a run then on Albon? So you just see there, we're definitely getting a bit more grip now from these intermediate tyres, and hopefully, yeah, our teammate not going to put up any fight there. Hopefully we can get him and maybe Ollie Behrman as well then, as we'll have to try and swing down the middle. But Behrman in that Alpine, no confidence whatsoever. In fact, I thought for a second that Albon might follow us by. We're going to leave them to battle, but annoyingly, Ollie hangs on. But the team now have felt that the rain has dipped to light only, as there we go. I think our top 2 into the pit lane then, so this is going to be a bit of a moment of truth for us. Where are we going to come back out in this race? Is everybody peeling into the pit lane? I mean, look at the amount of grip we've got there as Lawson, Piastri both diving in, so we might immediately rocket up towards the top of the order, and I think this gamble, it's safe to say at the moment, looks like it might have paid off for us. Where is Leclerc then as we make our way out through La Source? We're, I think, just going to be out ahead of him then, so straight up into P1 of this GP there as Jack Doohan now trying to go 1 lap extra on his intermediate tyres, but luckily as well, if I'm not mistaken, the wear hasn't been too bad on these either, so we could effectively do the entire race on 1 set of inters if I needed to, but up then into P1. Now the question is, how long can we stay here? Well, Charles Leclerc showed himself to be the dominant force on Sprint Race Saturday, and once again, looks like he's going to try and do the same thing here on Grand Prix Sunday there. A very aggressive move to the inside down through Blanchimont, but we will try and see if we can find the grip around the outside through the bus stop chicane, which we will do there. So I know Leclerc is a little way ahead of me in the Drivers' Championship right now as a new fastest lap. Oh, this is like Raikkonen versus Hamilton back in 2008 there as Leclerc just like gets the nose ahead of me by the time we get down in towards turn 1, but I think he's really trying to dump a load of battery at this stage of the afternoon. And we get a run up through a Rouge and Radion. It's the first time, I believe, all day that we never take it fully flat out up through there. As Leclerc, which way does he go? To the inside line. We're going to be wheel to wheel as we make our way up towards the top of the hill. I've been on the outside before on the slightly wetter surface there. Leclerc forced to brake early, and we hang on to the lead. Oh no, Leclerc, huge run as we make our way down in towards Eau Rouge. Where on earth did he find that speed from that time round? As I've said before, the AI, their traction can be so strong inside this game. As Charles almost puts me on the grass.
Concentration out there, you're doing well.
So team do definitely believe it is going to dry up before the end of the afternoon there, but we have to really get the elbows out and remind the Ferrari driver that we are just not here to get pushed around at this stage of the afternoon. I want our second win of F1 25. I was not expecting it to come today after the way the sprint race ended and all the grip penalties, but changeable conditions are always the great equaliser. Oh, again, how on earth is Leclerc finding that speed down in towards Eau Rouge? This is not where we want to be, as I'm trying to change settings on the HUD there and accidentally left the ERS on. That got a little bit scary. Oh, Leclerc again weaving this way, and that's trying to find a run. Here comes Yuki Tsunoda for the first time in this GP. So is Tsunoda now going to be able to try and get himself in towards the mix here? As Tsunoda, yes, he's gone right the way around Charles Leclerc as well then. So suddenly now our fight isn't with the Ferrari, it's with the McLaren man, as both of their respective teammates desperately trying to close in. Norris is basically there now, but suddenly we've got a little bit of a buffer once more. Oh, Tsunoda, he felt brave there. He wanted to try and look around the outside as we made our way up towards Blanchimont, and well, it's barely flat out still. Never mind going wheel to wheel with another car as again, trying to make sure we give the AI a little bit of room, but getting a little bit dug over the curb that time. As we make a little bit of contact.
And we could still regain the position.
Just making a little bit of a mistake there as we try and dive back to the inside of turn 1. Get it slowed down on the apex of the corner, but you can just see really beginning now to struggle with these intermediate tyres. Everybody else on a much fresher set. That advantage is just getting larger and larger for them. As Tsunoda doesn't quite get the run he needed up through the top of the hill. So which way can we have a look? We have a look to the outside, but Tsunoda at exactly the same time there tried to cover me off. He will have a little bit more straight line speed, but again, the outside definitely where I feel most comfortable up at the top of the circuit. And somehow, despite all the odds once more, we are still in the lead. But although by disabling the tyre temperature inside the game as well gives you a much better chance, obviously against the AI, the wear is still definitely worse for the human player versus them, especially as the circuit dries up. There's suddenly now Leclerc back up into P2. So no idea where he's making all that progress, but we're going to have to make the gamble soon. These intermediates will not get to the end of the race. Do I gamble it onto a fresh set of softs, or do I box for another set of inters? I think we can probably stay out on these tyres for at most another 2, maybe 3 laps here. But you can see those rears up to 60% now. We need that rain to stop, and then we are probably going to have to make a slightly early cool.
Back to dry shortly.
That's what I like to hear. Team think we are almost back at the dry period as Leclerc thinks about it. How many times before has he not made that move at the top of the hill? The only other thing that's making me a little bit nervous at this stage as well, of course, is if we do have to pit in, whether the AI just gamble it and try to get to the end on a set of the intermediates there, as again Leclerc trying to go all the way around the outside through the first part of the bus stop, but again luckily we're able to get the power down. We're not even setting PBs at this stage of the race as Charles, you can see the grip he's got there, able to get down the inside. By the time we get into turn 1, they're banging wheels between the 2 red cars.
I think the right call is to stick with what we've got for now.
So teams still think the inters are the way to go there as wheel to wheel up through a Rouge Radion once again. Leclerc almost covers us off, and we almost made contact with him as here comes Tsunoda again, 3 wide now as we try and make the move for the lead of the Grand Prix. Here comes Tsunoda though around the outside. Who will back out? Leclerc on the inside feels forced to. We will give Tsunoda just about a car's width through the corner, but still we are in P1. The rain has now stopped, however, and how long will it be before we can make the switch? I cannot see these inters getting to the end, so I'm probably slightly better off going earlier than the AI, but I've just got no idea. As you can see again, Leclerc tries to have a look to the outside, but now we're going to make the call. We're going to peel into the pit lane there, and Leclerc doesn't follow us in. Nobody follows us in. So this is a big, big gamble late on in the day. If we hadn't pit, we would have got a puncture by the end of this. So I'm not so worried about that. I feel like this was the choice we had to make. But if the AI don't go for it, are they just going to be able to limp to the checkered flag here? Hopefully we're going to be a lot quicker than them anyway. So we're going to bolt on a set of soft compound tyres.
Go! That was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting. That was our last stop, no more scheduled pit stops. Let's go.
Let's see what the grip is like then as we make our way out of the pit lane there. Luckily we're going to be tucked up in the DRS of our teammate Alexander Albon. But we're not going to be able to do anything with it just yet. Immediately the grip feels good. So with 4 laps to go, if the AI don't pit, we may have an opportunity still as round the outside of our teammate. And back up into 11th. Let's just ride on board then and see what it's like through the next few corners. There you can definitely see how much Ollie Behrman is struggling, and surely some of those AI up the front will be watching this, will be watching our times closely. Just cannot get on the wet stuff, otherwise there is no grip out there. But luckily there isn't much of a wet line as such. It kind of feels like most of the circuit's dried out in one consecutive go. As can we have a look to the inside of Behrman? Oh, it's a little bit sketchy, but we'll make it happen. Well, this is going to be moment of truth time then. Are the AI going to pit? Are they just going to try and brave it through these final 3 laps? Leclerc's in. So I think, yeah, most of them are in. Immediately then, I thought maybe McLaren might try and gamble it with one of their cars. The other Ferrari of Lando Norris opts to stay out there, though. So there's definitely still a little bit of indecisiveness coming up and down the order there, but through the final corner, Franco Colapinto, new fastest lap of the day, but we are going to be comfortably ahead of our biggest rivals. And surely now, even if those guys don't pit, we're going to be able to close in on them before the end of the afternoon. 3 laps to go, and we've got a bit of breathing room ahead of Tsunoda and Leclerc. We're going to have about a 3-4 second gap. This is fantastic. We are just taking time out of those top 2 absolutely everywhere at the moment, but Liam Lawson could still have one final twist in the tail. Just see how little grip he's got though. As we make our way down the hill, are we going to be able to have a look to the inside of him? We're going to have to go for it. We cannot afford to lose time at this stage of the afternoon there. And you can see now the gap to Esteban Ocon down to 4.4 seconds. We need it. About 3 seconds here, but surely the gap, the rate we are going to be closing in is going to be getting more and more towards the end of the afternoon. Lando Norris, this could be critical for his World Championship as well. But let's not forget, I haven't given up hope yet. We've been very, very consistent throughout the entirety of this season. Could today finally be the day we get a victory on the board there as our top 2 still staying out there? 1 more lap to go here of the Belgian Grand Prix. We're going to yet again set another new fastest lap.
Well done.
But you can see behind the guys further back going even quicker there. Leclerc now into the mid 1 minute 43s. George Russell into the 1:42s. As Lando Norris 4.4 seconds up the road. We're going to have to be very, very strategic with where we use our battery on this final lap. Trying to give ourselves the best run up the Kemmel Straight. But of course it'll be through all the twisty bits where we make up more time against the Ferrari man. Who is going to come out on top by the end of this GP there? We go purple through that first sector and watch as we wind our way down the hill just how quickly that gap is going to come down. 0.6 of a second down through Fanyas. We've got to make sure we get around Esteban Ocon, losing as little time as we possibly can there. The gap now to Norris under 3 seconds, 2.5 now. We are closing in so rapidly, but we know in that final sector we won't make anywhere near as much time up on him, so we've got to continue trying to do it everywhere else around the lap. We're going to have to drain a bit of battery to make sure we can get ahead of Ocon down through Fanyas as we go. And you can see now the gap to Lando, 1.4 seconds here. We have only won 1 race so far inside this series. No Formula 1 driver has ever won from the back of the field, but here today at the Belgian Grand Prix circuit, the weather has been so changeable. We have made a couple of great calls when it came to the tyre strategy as well. Lando Norris still leading the way as we make our way up in towards the bus stop chicane. But will we be able to do anything off of the final corner of the Grand Prix? You can see the Ferrari man struggling out of the final corner. Can we get the power down? No, we can't.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
And here he comes. It's all go, go, go for Lando Norris as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
It was a joy to watch today, honestly, because the driver was clearly able to read the conditions well on track, to use the information properly from the team, and usually come up with the right solution at the right time.
What a day it's been for Formula One, and what a day it's been for these 3 drivers. Time for the podium celebrations. Time for our drivers to celebrate. He holds the trophy aloft, and why shouldn't he? A richly deserved win today for Lando Norris.
Well, there we are then. Lando Norris, against all the odds, was able to hang on by just under 0.2 of a second come the checkered flag. I honestly thought today was going to be our day, and how many times am I going to finish P2 inside this series there? You know, Arav couldn't even script a race like that if he wanted to come the checkered flag. I really thought we wanted to maximise the run at the final corner, but the AI with their traction control able to make the difference. 22nd to second throughout the course of the race today, but it feels like we have been absolutely robbed there. Esteban Ocon hangs on for third, ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Charles Leclerc down in P5, but still beats out Liam Lawson as well, who made that one-stop strategy happen. Russell, Sainz, Piastri and Franco Colapinto, despite a bit of a botched strategy by him, still able to come through for P10 and that final points-paying position. Disappointing to see Alexander Albon all the way down in P14, but far more disappointing for Max Verstappen and Zach O'Sullivan, who failed to see the checkered flag. What does that do to our World Championship? Well, it means now Verstappen 18 points ahead of Lando Norris, as Leclerc and I still kind of with an outside shot. You can make the argument that Yuki as well, still with a mathematical chance this season. 6 races to go, 53 points in it between myself and the World Championship leader. Constructors-wise, Ferrari now 51 clear of Red Bull, as McLaren still comfortably ahead of ourselves, but we've got a nice healthy buffer ahead of Mercedes and Williams as well there. Aston Martin still ahead of Haas, Alpine and Audi on the board, and then VCarb at the rear of the field. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to go off now and cry, and yeah, we'll be back very soon ready for the Dutch Grand Prix.